So scouting is one of those things where almost everyone that comes into this game has huge problems with it, and almost no one really knows how to explain it outside of like specific game knowledge things like you have to scout a 12 pool, you have to scout for proxies. And I think that's a problem. So in this video, I'm going to explain scouting to you guys. To do this, we'll be talking about the 3 main reasons why you scout or get map vision, which would be scouting winning conditions, scouting losing conditions, and getting a hang of the general game state. So I'll be kind of talking about what those actually are, what those mean, and how you would learn to scout for them. Not how you scout for them, but how you want to learn how to scout for them. This will then lead into the next video where I'll be talking about how to learn from your replays in the best and most efficient way. Of course, before we actually start, I want to give a quick shout out to my Twitch. I stream Monday to Fridays every day, 5 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. CEST. So if you've got any questions regarding this video, regarding anything in StarCraft, or just want to hang out, feel free to join us. I've got everything linked down below. So for every StarCraft game, of course you kind of want to have a game plan. What compositions you want to go for, what openings, what build orders, whatever. But how does scouting actually fit into that? I've already mentioned the terms losing conditions, winning conditions, and game set. And before I'm going to talk about what we're going to do with them, I want to explain real briefly what those actually mean. The first one would be losing conditions, and that might be like the most common thing most people know, and also the thing that most people connect with scouting on its own. Basically, losing conditions is everything that you have to scout and you have to react to, otherwise you just straight up lose the game. Stuff like cheeses, like 12 pools, like proxy rexes fit into that category. But also certain moves like the doom drops or certain warpins from Protoss fall into this category. Basically, the core thought process to this kind of scouting is, what could I die to right now? While this might be the category that is the most important to get right, to start losing less games, it is also the category that is most reliant on your mechanics outside of scouting itself. Because here's the thing, the better your macro and micro gets outside of scouting, the less you actually have to react to shit. Because you're going to have more stuff. For example, if your macro gets better, you're going to have more stuff. And certain timings that you would have killed you like a few days ago, with you having more stuff, it suddenly doesn't matter anymore. This is where benchmarks come into play, and we'll talk about that a lot in the next video that I already teased earlier. With winning conditions, as you might have guessed, they are the exact opposite of losing conditions. Instead of thinking, what could I die to right now, you're thinking, what kind of mistakes am I seeing in my opponent's play that I could be punishing right now? On high level, this might be a strategic mistake your opponent has made, or a build order choice, or a gambling choice that they made that you can punish. While on low level, oftentimes it's just you scout your opponent, you see they have less stuff than you because their macro is worse, and you can kill them. This automatically leads to less lost games because you don't give your opponent the chance to get into the game, or you don't give yourself the chance to make more mistakes. Also, the idea of where to spend your resources that I've talked in a previous video is also pretty important here. Because if you've got more army than your opponent, you want to use army. Otherwise, army is very useless. Of course, winning conditions don't always have to be instant to work, and oftentimes losing and winning conditions are part of the same medal. You know, that in, for example, mirror matchups, if you got the upgrade advantage, that is going to be winning condition for you, or like in general the upgrade state, while being behind in upgrades automatically kind of means that's going to be losing conditions that might potentially lose you the game. It's all about, in these cases, whether or not the fight then actually happens. For example, if your upgrades are behind, you don't want to take a fight, you want to try to avoid any fight that might happen. And if you have the upgrade advantage, you want to take a fight and you want to go in. And you find that out via scouting. And the third topic in terms of scouting that I wanted to talk about next to losing conditions and winning conditions is the game state. And this might be a little bit harder at the beginning, and it shouldn't be the one you focus mostly on, because the game state is all about the minute details. Stuff like where your opponent's army's positioned, where they're taking their bases, where the buildings are, what army compositions exactly they have might be useful to turn something into a winning or losing condition. Like, knowing where the third base is not going to necessarily win you the game, but it is definitely worth knowing. And the more you know, the more comfortable you're going to feel. Of course, this is going to be a lot harder when you're starting the game out, because you don't actually know what you're looking for. After all, Starcraft has a lot of small pieces that fit together. But the more you play and the more you make a conscious effort of looking for these small things, you're going to get more and more of a grasp about the game and what it might mean that the third base is in a line position instead of in a triangular position. Now, the question of course is, how do you use the information from this video correctly? And while I'll talk in detail about losing conditions and benchmarks and all that stuff in the next video about learning from your replays, in essence, what you want to do is you want to, if you lose a game, check the replays and note down times where if you would have known the attack was coming, you would have built something different. Or if you would have known your opponent has this little stuff, you could have just killed him. And you want to keep that in mind for the next few games. Also, scouting, I would almost say scouting is mostly there to relieve stress from your gameplay. The more you know, the more information you have, the less you have to guess. And one thing that I see most lower league players do is say stuff like, oh, I don't know what they're doing, but they might be doing that, so I'm building this. And that means your decisions are going to be less exact, and because of that, less efficient. Which means whenever you don't know what's going on and you feel this thought come up of like, oh wait, what might he be doing? This is a moment where you should send out a scout, or if that isn't possible, you should think about in the next games about this timing, and maybe have a scout ready for the next game in terms of like maybe a sentry or maybe an overlord at his base. So checking for winning and losing conditions will instantly win you more games. And you can do that by watching other like pro replays and check when they're scout, or just as I explained earlier, go through your own replays and find out moments where if you would have scouted it, you would have reacted it differently. While game state knowledge in terms of map vision and scouting helps to keep the pressure off, and also because of that makes you win more games. Once again though, I want to stress, while this is a video about scouting, and of course we'll be talking about losing conditions more specifically in the next video, in like 99% of the cases, what loses you the game is your mechanics, and you didn't have to scout what your opponent threw at you at all if your mechanics would have been better. Like, what can I say? Less supply blocks means that Terran push that killed you like 2 games ago wouldn't have done anything to it because you just would have had more stuff. Well, so that was it for this video. I hope this walkthrough helped. I kept it rather general, so whatever level you're at, you can take something away from this. Of course, next week I'm going to be back with some more scouting intel about losing conditions and learning from your replays. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. As always, this is YouTube, so feel free to share, like, subscribe, comment, whatsoever. Also, as I mentioned earlier, I do stream every day, Monday to Fridays from 5 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. CEST. Guys, I hope this helped. Once again, I hope you're going to have a great day, night, whatever time zone or whatever time you're watching this video on. Just have a great one. See you guys next video. Peace.